Econoline pickup, and this was owned by one of my good friends that lived about 30 miles away from here in a little town called Ripley. Rick Kirk, he's a huge Ford guy, and he kept talking about this Econoline pickup. He literally built this truck, took it to 3 shows over the course of, a month or two, parked it in his barn, and it's set for 28 years, if I remember right. I mean, from a completely finished show vehicle to just sitting in the barn for 28 years. So it's funny because when we pulled it out of the barn that it was in, or it's actually in a garage, it kind of looked like a barn by that point, the way it was all overgrown. There was a perfectly preserved skeleton of a cat that was underneath it that passed away and biodegraded. So yeah, that was not the most exciting thing, but yeah, that tells you, how long that was there. I mean, completely undisturbed skeleton. So in the bed of this truck, it had a 428 engine, and it was half in the bed, half in the cab, which was kind of unique. Those Econolines did have an engine mounted, in the back, kind of between the driver and the passenger. But this is the radiator, and that radiator, it's hard to see up here, but it was hydraulically driven. So it wasn't electric fans, it was hydraulic fans that were run off a pump from the motor. So it was really kind of cool. But obviously, not a whole lot of customizing done in the bed other than stuffing that huge engine in there. I think that was out of a 61 Thunderbird, if I remember. They had so many different things going on with this truck. It was actually pretty cool. So now we're going to go to the next stage when we started working on it. And you heard me mention him once before, but we were so impressed with Eric did on that truck, we turned him loose on the Econoline. So after he did the Chevy, we said, hey, we got this Econoline pickup. Oh, and by the way, we want to make it center drive with suicide doors. So that's what every car audio needs to start with, suicide doors and center drive. So once again, just trying to be different and make a statement out there, and I make the picture a little bit bigger. But a lot of work to take a vehicle that was not made for suicide doors, and this is long before those kits were available. Eric, we probably should have done Lambo doors on it. We think about, hey, I bet we still can. We got the truck in the museum. This is a 1998 Cobra R motor that we got from Ford. As you can see, it fit nicely in place of where that 428 was. But that whole frame was custom built for that truck. It was made out of 2-inch by 6-inch square tubing and built basically from front to back. So that was a lot of fun building a whole custom frame for this vehicle because it was not going to support what we did to it otherwise. So all those things you got to think about when you build a high-end vehicle. Here's the start of some of the audio system. Up in the headliner, we decided we're going to mount we got to put amplifiers everywhere. We want to do this thing over the top. And here you see the cardboard form. Once those were put in place, we had a nice support. We could mount the amplifiers, and you could see that the metal bars welded in all over to support the weight of those amplifiers, because you definitely don't want the amplifiers dropping on your head. And that's the start of the trim panel, the headliner that's going to go basically behind the amplifiers. And here's the mounting plates. So yeah, it looks like 5 amplifiers, but in reality there's 3 amplifiers and 2 of our 30-band equalizers. The KQ30s were mounted, 1 for the left channel and 1 for the right channel. And then, 3 SX amplifiers. Here's a great shot of Toby and Sean working on the gauges, and these were all classic instrument gauges, and they have the KICKER logo silkscreen in the face of every one of those gauges. That we had those custom built for the vehicles, and as you guys know, some of that stuff is not cheap to do, but it's just those little touches that put these vehicles over the top. So here's the dash in place, and you see the mock-up of the mid-ranges and the mid-bass underneath the gauges. But if you'll see in the final picture, these 8-inch woofers in the bottom never made it to the final production. Once we put them in the vehicle and kind of looked, getting in and out, they were a little obtrusive, were blocking you from getting in and out of the vehicle smoothly. So you do have to be ready to change your thought process, midstream in these vehicles. I had somebody ask me one time, do all these vehicles end up looking exactly the way you plan them? And I will have to be honest and tell you, no. The vehicle's going to tell you as you start working on it, what you are and are not going to do. I remember so many times thinking, I got all the room in the world to, do this, and you get to that point and it's like, there's no room for wires. Now what do we do? So you've got to be ready to adapt on the fly, and things just happen. And this is what you end up with when it's all put together. The tonneau cover, we took 3 separate tonneau covers from this company, and I can't remember their name, and we basically built these 2 half tonneau covers out of those 3 pieces, almost completely from scratch. We had to, build these corners. We had to, cut them down and make a trim around them and hinges. So yeah, there was a whole lot of extra planning work that went into it. There you see your 4 Optima batteries back in the corner and the fusing and wire. That was about the time we first came out with our own power wire and fuses, so that was a nice way to show it off. And it's really hard to see, but if you look right here, those are LEDs that were recessed into the 1-inch solid copper bus bars. So the positive rail had blue LEDs, and the negative rail, forgot what color we used on that, or maybe we did blue for the negative, red for the positive, but yeah, those bus bars had LEDs recessed into those, and in fact, the LEDs were mounted from behind, so they're drilled all the way through. It was really kind of cool. So here's the vehicle. This was its second SEMA show. The first one, we actually did not put the tonneau covers on it so people could see a little bit better, but here's a view of that vehicle all finished at SEMA. I cannot remember what year that was. There's the inside, once again, all painted to match. Gorgeous paint on this thing, and that blue just absolutely sparkles, and especially with the white with the pearl in it. There's the overhead shot of the Clarion source units and the 3 SX amplifiers and the KQ30s. If you notice that seat no longer has a headrest, it was very, I'm short, so I was one of the few people that could actually get in and drive this truck without hitting my head on anything. And I did, fortunately, drove this truck a couple laps around a racetrack, not full speed, but parade laps, but it was still kind of fun driving this thing around, sitting on top of the front wheels. That's a really weird experience. There you see a great shot of the interior with the 3 seats and the original Solo X12s. And then, of course, here's the vehicle. And this is the first time it was at SEMA. You can see that there is no bed cover on it. And that thing absolutely was gorgeous. Now, Wheel Vintiques made these wheels. This is the 16-inch version, which they made and which were readily available. And these are 18-inch that they custom built for us to match the front, just for the look of the vehicle. So, and you get a cool project. The companies a lot of times like to get involved. So, great looking vehicle, whole lot of fun. And then you see Eric's logo from Wicked Racing down on the corner. Give him credit for that paint job, but what a gorgeous vehicle. And this vehicle is in our museum, so if you guys wanted to come down and see it, feel free. Museum's open 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. I'd say pretty much 7 days a week. The only time it's not open is holidays when we're closed, so we got a great staff up there, a couple great receptionists that'll show you around and give you a tour of the Wall of Boom.